Hey you guys, and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. I am so excited to film this for YouTube. There was so many of you guys that blew that video up on TikTok, so I'm really excited to be able to put this on YouTube and give you guys those details and do a full get ready with me so you guys can see my process from beginning to end. And I really hope this helps you guys. Please, as always, leave any kind of questions you have for me in the comments section. You can reach out to me on Instagram, TikTok, or here on YouTube in the comment section, and I will try to get back to you guys. As I get bigger, it is getting harder for me to answer every comment and question, so I will try my hardest. If you guys aren't already, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like the video if you like it, and share it with your friends who are either getting married, have a get together, a birthday party, going out. This look is absolutely universal and I feel like it is absolutely timeless. You can wear it anywhere for any occasion, and I absolutely love this look. I think it's absolutely beautiful, and I do my makeup like this so often because it's so quick and easy. So I really do hope this tutorial helps you guys out. Please let me know and let's get into it. We're going to start this tutorial off with a face primer, and the one I'm using is the e.l.f. Mint Melt. I absolutely love this stuff. I don't really use primers that often, but I honestly have bought this one a few times because I love the way it feels on my skin. It truly does feel like it's cooling at my skin. So I just put a few pumps on my hands, I rub them together, and then I'm going to go through and just gently apply it to my entire face. I avoid my eyes because I'll use my concentrate, my moisture concentrate. I'll show you that here in a second. Okay. Oh, it just feels so good, and it has that fresh, cooling mint smell. It's so good. I love this primer. Okay. And then for my eyes, I gotta wipe that off my hands because it feels a little gross sometimes. Okay, then for my eyes, I'm going to use the Clinique Moisture Surge. It is their 96-hour Hydro Filler Concentrate. I'm going to use a literally small little dot on my hand, like that much, so small. And then I just kind of rub it together like this so it warms it up. And then I'm just going to apply that to my eye sockets. Moving on to foundation, I'm going to use my IT Cosmetics CC Color Correcting Full Coverage Cream, and I am using the shade Lite today. Then I just use this palette I have here, and I just squirt some on the palette. I don't always use that much, but I'm just going to grab a little bit onto the sponge. So what I do is I grab a little bit, and then I just start tapping it off like this. This way I can make it a nice even layer on the sponge. I kind of got a little close. Let me go over here. So up here, this is what I'll do. I'll sit here and I'll roll the sponge around so the foundation is nice and even on the sponge, like that, okay? Then I'm just going to take this and I'm going to start working it into my skin. And I'm just pressing. I'm not swiping, I'm just pushing this into my skin. I also go on my ears because you want your ears to match your face. Okay, and then again, I'm just gonna go over my entire face, use whatever is left on the sponge, blend everything out together. So now I'm going to get a little bit more, and we're going to do our neck. And then what I'm going to do is just take whatever is left on this sponge, and I'm just going to drag it down like this. And it'll all be nice and blended and just faded down, so it's not a super, like I said, just harsh line of stopping. It's a nice easy way to fade that into your chest. So see, I still have foundation left on there. Ew, the product inside mushed, crunched, and I just, oh my gosh, disgusting. There's literally blush now everywhere. It dumped all over the table, in my lap. Anyways, as you can see, I still have foundation on there. I did squirt out a little bit too much today, which doesn't usually happen, but it happens. So let me clean up this blush really quick. Moving on to concealer, I am going to use the Stay Naked Concealer by Urban Decay. I am in shade 30 in. I am going to apply this to the tops of my cheeks and blend it upward towards my under eye. So all I like to do, and I'm probably gonna do just one eye at a time because my window is open to keep the camera cooled down, so I'm hoping it won't turn off every 20 minutes for me, but I'm just going to take my damp beauty sponge again. I usually blend this out with a brush. This is the IT Cosmetics number 7 Heavenly Luxe brush, and I'll usually like blend this out so I can shape it, but I'm just feeling a little lazy today, so I'm just going to use a beauty sponge, and all I'm going to do is just start patting this out. I like to highlight like the top of my cheek, and I bring it down the side of my nose. So I really like to try to highlight this front portion of my face. And then for the corner, I'm going to lift this up and go all along the top of my cheekbone. So I'll do like the round part of my cheeks right here. I love to bring that nice and highlighted and forward. And then I also like to bring it up on the highlight or the top of my cheek where I'm going to highlight later as well. Then whatever's left on the sponge, I'm going to apply that to my eyelid. So I do like to go over everything, especially when it's like cream, like my foundation and my concealer. I do like to go over them a few times just to make sure everything is nice and blended out and even and thin as possible. And we'll move on to the other eye so you guys can see that one more time. I do use a very small amount. Let's do 1, 2, and then 3. Take your sponge. I kind of pinch it too to make it a little bit thinner so it's not so wide on my under eye. So I'll just pinch it, and then again I just kind of start blotting and shaping where I want that concealer to go. I like to do with the side of my nose because then when I contour, it's going to play on that contour. And sometimes I hook this down so you can't really see because it's a sponge, but I'll bring it down the side of my nose and I'll hook it around, and I even highlight just right under like my nostril area. And then I'm now just gonna go over one more time, just really blending out and making sure those edges just nice and fade into the foundation. That way, again, there is no harsh line and everything is just going to look super blended, really seamless, a little bit more natural. For the center of my face, for my forehead, I kind of go a little bit higher with my concealer. Most people would go like right here and start blending it upward, but I try to avoid this area because I just feel like later in the day, that's where I notice like a lot of my makeup is like setting and it just looks a little cakey, so I have to go through with my finger and just kind of blot it out, so I just try to avoid it. And I love to bring the my chin forward, and then I slide this down the center of my nose, and I do my cupid's bow. So again, I'm just going to kind of squeeze my sponge like this, and then I'm going to kind of blot this out. I still do like an upside down triangle, but again, I try to stay a little bit higher, avoiding in between my eyebrow area. So yeah, I just kind of highlight this whole area right in here, and then I will just pinch the sponge and run this down the center of my nose. And then for my chin, I just kind of keep it in this area so it'll pull it forward. And then for my cupid's bow, I really just use the tip of the sponge, pinch it, and I'm just going to use more of like a blotting. When I blend out my concealer, I'm kind of doing like a swoosh like that. I don't know how to explain that. Like, so it's not like a dab like this where you just go dab and up. It's like a dab and then a swoosh over, like dab, swoosh over. That's what I do when I blend out like my under eye, my forehead, my chin, but with my cupid's bow, I'm just doing more of like a dab. And then I'll just use the side of the sponge where there was hardly any concealer, and I could see a tiny bit of a line between my foundation and my concealer, so I'm just going to use the side of the sponge, and I just go around the edges just to make sure, again, that I'm picking up any extra product. And then what I'm going to do is get out my setting powder, which I'm going to use the Laura Mercier translucent setting powder, and then I'm going to use the Real Techniques microfiber sponge. I absolutely love this sponge so much. But what I'm going to do first is grab my concealer sponge, and I'm going to look up, and I'm going to remove any of those creases. And then right after you're done blending out those creases, go in with your powder sponge and set it. And then make your powder go as long and as far as you can. And that is the only spot I really have any creasing on my face. So the rest of my face, I'm just going to get my sponge nice and saturated, and then I'm going to set the rest of my face. But the last thing I do for setting my face is I'm going to use this big fluffy brush from Morphe. It's their E3 brush. So I'm just gonna go through my whole face just like this and kind of like stipple it, just to make sure if there's any extra powder sitting on my face, it's going to be picked up or dispersed where it's needing to be. Now I'm going to go through and contour my face. I'm using the Kat Von D Shade and Light palette, and I'm going to use the shade Shadowplay, which is here in the middle on the bottom. The brush I'm going to use to contour is the Anastasia Beverly Hills A23 brush. So I'll usually do like a line and then I'll start using like a circular motion to fill it in. You don't want to move your actual face shape. So when I pull my hair back, I'm just moving my hair back and holding it. If I was to stretch like this, you can see that's going to change. So now if I was to contour with my face like this, when I drop that, the contour is now going to be lower. So do not try to move your face or your skin in any way. So when people are going like to contour, when they're done sucking their lips in like that, their face now is a completely different shape. So now you've contoured for your face to sit like, no one walks around like that. So don't contour your face like that. And all you're wanting to do is enhance the parts of your face where you want them to look more sunk in or disappeared. So now I'm going to do my temple. For my temples, I kind of like to be off to the side, and I have this like dip in my forehead here. I'm not sure if everybody has this, if I'm honest, but I have like a dip in my forehead right above the arch of my brow. So I usually start in there. My hand is about halfway on the brush so I can have that control. I start with those small circular motions, and then I'm gonna start dragging it on like the brow line above it though. And then I will also drag it on the hairline. That way everything looks nice and like connected and seamless, and there's not just like a stop. So I will always just kind of dust along my hairline with the contour all the way. We're now gonna do the chin and the jaw. And just to make sure there's no more product, I'm going to blend it downward first before I come upward and diffuse it. This way you won't darken up this part of your cheek that you want to be highlighted, so then it makes your jawline a little bit more shaped and defined. Okay, and now to diffuse it, we're going to move our hand to the end of the pencil, the end of the brush. We're just gonna use big circular motions, make sure everything is fully blended out. Now for my nose, I'm going to use the same brush. I like to start at the front of my brow here, and all I'm going to do is start at the brow, and I'm just going to follow that natural shape and bring it down and round it out. This part of my nose is a little bulby to me, so this is where I like to focus most of my contour on, but I'm going to bring contour down here so it's nice and it just flows better and it looks a little bit better than if I was just to contour right here. I'm just gonna start here at the front of the brow, and I'm just going to kind of shimmy it and wiggle it like this and go follow down the side, and then I just kind of swirl it around like the bulby part of my nose because that's where I want to contour to make that part of my nose look smaller. Now for my lips, I'm going to use this small little brush. It comes in like an Anastasia eyeshadow palette. I'm going to use this this small side, and I'm just going to touch the tip into my contour. And I'm going to tap that off, and then I'm going to contour my lips. So what I do is I go down the center in between the Cupid's bow. I'm going to go right where the bottom of my nostril is and bring that down. I'm gonna come down the side of my mouth and then do the entire bottom lip. So then here is the half of the face done with contour, and this half is not. So let me just really quickly do that, and I'll just put you guys on a time lapse. My dad's from Chicago, and sometimes I get their little accent comes out from absolutely nowhere, and that was one of those times. After I'm done contouring, I love to take the brush that I powdered my face with, and I just go over the edges of my contour, just like this. And I just feel like it helps really diffuse them. So the next step I'm going to go into is bronzing my face. So the bronzer I'm using is the Hoola Light Balm bronzer from Benefit. Looks like this. This one is hit pan already, but I absolutely love this one. And then the brush I'm going to apply that with is the Morphe M105 brush. And all I'm going to do is swirl this in the package like this, tap off the extra, and then I'm just going to do really big swirls on my cheeks and all over that contour area. This is going to add some warmth to my face, and it softens your contour, so the contour isn't going to look as harsh when I use the bronzer over it. It's also going to really blur everything out again and make everything look nice and diffused and just really well blended together. Now on to my favorite part, blush. I love blush. It brings so much dimension and warmth, and it really shapes your face more than contouring, in my opinion. So I absolutely love blush. It's my favorite part. I love the way that your face looks right after. It just looks so alive and warm and welcoming. Blush is my favorite part. So the blush I am going to use today is out of the Scott Barnes Chic palette, and the blush shades we're going to use are Minimalist, which is here, and then we're going to mix it with Strike a Rose, and I'm also going to mix it with Sweet Cheeks. So the brush I'm going to use to apply this with is a Morphe M405. So what I'm going to do for me, I like to start my blush about here, and I'm going to just kind of swipe it up like this towards the temple. Oh, it's so beautiful. Okay, now I'm gonna go downward. So almost like an X. So go upward like this, and then I come downward like this. But in the same area. You don't want to drag it down any further than that contour. I love these shades together so much. Okay, and now I'm going to slowly work towards the apples of my cheeks to give them a wash of color. Kind of do like a half smile, grab a little bit more of those colors, and I'm just going to take my makeup towel and just kind of dust it off because I want just a little bit to dust on dim apples. Oh, it's beautiful. And then I always take whatever is left on the brush and I just put it on the tip of my nose. So now I'm going to use the Morphe E4 brush, and I'm going to grab this shade here called Rosé. And then what I'm going to do is go right on the tops and hit the apples. And it's just going to bring in such a beautiful tone. Oh my gosh, okay. The last thing I like to do is, again, I grab the brush that I applied my loose setting powder with, and I'm just going to go over everything. Honestly, I don't ever skip this step. It's like after every step, this is what I do. Let me grab my brush. The last step I'm going to do for my face is I'm going to brighten my under eye. So what I'm going to do is go back into the Kat Von D Shade and Light palette, and I'm going to mix the banana shade and the light pink shade. I'm going to start tapping this right on the under eye. Everywhere I put concealer, I go over top with this at the end. And this really, like I said, just blurs everything. It puts like a soft cast on to like over top of your makeup. It's just beautiful. And honestly, that's all you need, like such a small amount, and it is absolutely beautiful. I do not skip this step. Try it out and let me know what you guys think and how your skin looks afterward. And you can just see and watch it just blur everything out and brighten up the under eye. I'm going to go down my nose, and I'm also going to do my forehead, because I do not put highlighter on my forehead. I do put it down my nose. Cupid's bow, sorry. My chin. And then the front part of my cheeks right over top of that blush. All right, you guys, so I have you nice and zoomed in so we can do brows together. I usually am nose to the mirror to do my brows. I have to be so close to do my brows, but I'm going to try to do them a little bit with a distance between me and the mirror today, because if I bring the mirror close, it cuts you guys off. So the first thing I'm going to do for my brows is clean them out. I do have my brows microbladed, and then they did the powder brows, which is just like shading in after they go through and make like the hair-like marks. So what I'm going to do is clean them out, because as you can see, they do get really light and there is like foundation and powder in them. So I just go through and clean them out. My favorite spoolie to clean them out with is the Morphe. It's their micro brow pencil, and they just have this tiny little spoolie on this, and I absolutely love it. It's so small, it gets in there, it's nice and precise, it's not too rough on my brows, so I always use this to clean my brows out. This also gives me a chance to start shaping my brows, so when I'm drawing them in, I just follow pretty much where I have cleaned out because I can see the lines. So I'm going to do that, and I'll just put you guys again on a time lapse. Okay, so that gives you guys kind of a visual. So that's obviously the brow I just cleaned, and then that's what they look like before I clean them. And then I always go over with the powder brush, and I just kind of dust through to make sure that there's no, because sometimes it'll leave like a little white cast, like it removes the foundation. So if I just do this, it kind of blends that out. And then to draw my brows in, I'm going to use the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Pencil, and this is in the shade Taupe. So what I like to do is kind of outline them first. So I usually start with the top, and then for the front, I'll just kind of fill them in like this as I'm doing the top outline. I just kind of do little like strike motions there in the front. And again, you don't want to move your eyebrows like this or anything. Try to keep them as relaxed in their natural position as possible. And I honestly just follow my natural shape. Sometimes I will add a little bit more of an arch. And then we're going to fill them in. And I just kind of do it by like little strike motions like this. After I fill them in, I'm going to go in with the Anastasia Brow Pen, also in the shade Taupe, and I'm going to create little false hairs in the same direction that my eyebrow hairs would grow. I notice this also really helps add some dimension to the brows. So that is what they look like when I'm done, and then that is what they looked like at the beginning. So there are my brows. I'm also going to go through, I'm going to try to keep you zoomed in and in focus. I'm going to use that Morphe spoolie again, and I'm just going to go across the bottom really lightly. It kind of erases any of the little marks to make it look like they're drawn in. Just lightly go over your brow like that, and I'm going to use the Anastasia one, and I'm going to go from an upward and then just gently comb upward, and it just kind of softens those lines so they don't look so harsh. Makes it look a little bit more real. And that is it. So that is the finished brow. All right, you guys, I have my headband out. I have my hair pinned back. I am ready for the eyeshadow portion of this look. I did use 2 palettes for this look. The first one was the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette, and then the second one was the Morphe x Jaclyn Hill Volume 1 palette. If you don't have both of these palettes, please do not feel like you need to run out and buy both of them to achieve this look. Just find colors that are similar within your makeup collection, and honestly, between these 2 palettes, there's very similar colors that you can just switch out if you don't have one of them. So let's get started with this look. The first shade I'm going to go into is Golden Ochre, and I'm going to use a Morphe M513 brush, which is a rounded blending brush. I'm going to start this in the crease using windshield wiper motions, and then I'm going to switch to circular motions to blend this up onto the brow bone. And then I'm going to take those circular motions and I'm going to blend this just beyond the brow. This is going to extend my eye, making it look more wide and bigger. I'm also going to be blending this into my nose contour. That way everything flows and looks seamless. I'm going to take the shade Burnt Orange on the same M513 brush, and I'm going to apply that into the crease to add a little bit of a warmth and orange to the look. Once we get the pigment in there, then we're going to switch to the circular motions to blend that up into the Golden Ochre shade, but we're not going to take it as high. This will bring that nice gradient, faded, and blended look. We're still going to extend it beyond the brow for that nice elongated, bigger eye look. I'm now going to take the shade Raw Sienna on an M573 brush, which is a pointed blending brush. And I'm just going to lightly dust this on the inner half of the crease to just add some more depth and warmth. Again, we're just going to blend that into the nose contour slightly. All right, you guys, so I kind of messed up a little bit and I did my TikTok eye already, although this was supposed to be my TikTok eye, so I'm just going to now do this eye with you guys, and then hopefully I can get my shit together. And the shades I used are Antique Bronze and SBN on a Morphe M456 brush, which is a small, like mini firm blending brush. Then I'm going to spray my brush with the NYX setting spray. It's really quick. Going to tilt my mirror up, I'm going to tilt my head up, but I'm going to look my eyes down to expose my entire eyelid. Then I'm just going to start pressing this on and kind of doing like little swipe marks. And I'm going to apply this on the full lid, inner to outer corner, and I'm also going to blend this on the bottom part of my crease. And then the other thing I'm going to do is grab my M513 brush, and I'm lightly going to use circular motions right on that line to further blend it out so we have no harsh lines. I'm now going to grab the shades Cypress Umber and Mocha on a Morphe M514 brush, and this is a small detailed rounded blending brush. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this on the outer third of my lid, is where I usually start, and I'm just going to take small circular motions and start blending that in, and then I'm going to work my way up towards the lower part of the crease. And then as I get higher and higher, I'm just going to be aiming for the tail end of my brow. This again is going to help that nice elongated, bigger looking eye look. And then once you get that on your eye, I wiped the brush off on my makeup towel, and now I'm going to go in and just kind of use back and forth motions, circular motions. Freaking trash, people. Why didn't they get that this morning? Everyone else's trashes are emptied. Okay, now that that's done, what I did is I wiped my brush off, and then I'm going to go through with like circular motions, and I'm also going to use back and forth motions, and this is just going to blur out those edges or really blend them in. So for the bottom, I usually go like back and forth, and I'll start using circular motions for that brow bone. This again just really helps blend everything out so there's no harsh lines. All right, you guys, so now that I've showed you all the colors, we're going to work on the lower lash line. So I'm taking burnt orange and golden ochre on the Morphe M516 brush, and this is a pointed, small, tiny little blending brush. I'm going to blend them from inner to outer corner on that lower lash line. You're going to want to connect them to that outer corner on your upper lid. Now I'm going to take Cypress Umber and Mocha on the same M506 brush, and we're going to blend this on the outer half of the lower lash line, and we're going to blend that up into the outer corner of the upper lid. Now I'm going to mix my two shimmer shades, Antique Bronze and SBN. We're going to spray that with the NYX setting spray just to get it a little damp. And I'm going to blend this on the inner 2/3 of my lower lash line on the same M506 brush. Now I'm going to take the shade Golden Ochre on the Morphe M573 brush, and I'm going to dust it along this bottom line to blur everything out and make sure everything is nice and blended. It's also going to really fade it out so it's not going to be as sharp or dark. I'm now going to grab the shade Obsessed on the Morphe M456 brush. I'm going to lightly spray this one. And then how I'm going to apply this is on the center part of the lid and the very bottom part of my crease. Now that I have my lashes glued on, I'm going to show you guys how I did the eyeliner portion of this video. I used the Maybelline Line Stiletto Liquid Eyeliner. It looks like this. I just get it at Walmart. That's what it looks like, and I love the felt tip on this. I know a lot of people say that they don't, but I honestly do. All right, so all I'm going to do is drag this along the band of the lash, and I'm making a very small wing liner at the end. I'm going to take the shade Cypress Umber on a Morphe M443 brush. So what I'm going to do is take some of this Cypress Umber on the very tip of the brush, and I'm going to go right over top of that liquid liner. So that is what it is going to look like without mascara. The mascara I'm going to use is the Telescopic Carbon Black. I'm going to apply it to the base of my lashes first and try to get most of the mascara there. And then once I have most of the mascara there, then I kind of just lightly wiggle it up through the wispy part of my lashes. All right, you guys, for lips, I'm using NYX Lip Liner in the shade Natural. And I don't overline my lips. I usually just line right on the top part of my lip. Now I'm going to go in with the shade Bare Reveal from Maybelline. Over top of that, I'm putting on the shade Nude Lust. I'm not bringing it all the way to the edges, so I kind of did it in that area. Now over top of that, I'm going to go in with Maybelline's Baddest Beige. I'm gonna now go through and tap it out with my finger. Like that, kind of blend them together. These three shades together are so beautiful. Okay, there's our lips. Now we're gonna go in and highlight to finish up the tutorial. Let me see, where's my highlighter brush? I'm first gonna go in with the Hourglass Ambient Trio, and I'm taking the lighter two shades, so these two, and I'm using a Morphe M501 brush. And I'm going to go on the tops of the cheekbones like this and get those apples. And this also really helps that glow from within look. So lightly dust that over the top like this. Grab a little, run it down the center part of my nose and my chin. This is the only highlighter I'll put on my forehead, and it's the smallest little amount. And I usually just go right up here where the light would naturally hit. Now to actually highlight my face, I'm going to use the Scott Barnes Glowy and Showy palette. I'm going to grab the shade Twilight Sand. I'm going to dust it right on the top of those cheekbones. tip of my nose. Right here where the light is naturally hitting it. I'm still going to use Twilight Sand, but I'm also now going to be mixing in a little bit of the Peekaboo shade for my lip highlight. And I'm gonna drag this all across the top part of my top lip and the Cupid's bow. Okay. Now I'm gonna go through. Then over top of that, I'm going to add my Blistex Silk and Shine chapstick. And now I'm going to set my face using the NYX Matte Finish Setting Spray. This is the best setting spray of all time. And I'm just going to lightly mist my face, cover my hair. I'm going to use my handy dandy dryer. Whew, look at that hair. Okay, let me get dressed and I'll come back and I'll show you guys my finished put together look. So that was your finished look. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Please leave any feedback in the comments if you guys liked it this way. It was a little difficult for me to film TikTok and YouTube at the same time, so I'm going to have to adjust that just for my own personal reasons. That took way longer, like double the time it would take to just film either YouTube or TikTok. So maybe in the future I'll just do it a little bit different. Maybe I'll just, like I said, do one eye and film that for TikTok and then come back and do one eye for YouTube. So please leave any feedback in the comments section. I appreciate that so much, and I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something. Let me know what you guys want to see else on my channel or on TikTok, and I'll be more than happy to do that for you guys. Thank you so much for your continued support and love, and I love you guys so freaking much. Bye!